Booms of thunder, there are booms of Marquette's fireworks. Good to see that that thunder and potential rain for the early part of next week isn't here just yet. Well, looking at another kind of outdoor activity now, Iraq is a particularly rough place to be a child right now. Recent studies have been finding that many Iraqi children are suffering from symptoms of post-traumatic stress, which is why anything in Iraq resembling a normal childhood might be embraced. ABC's John Hendren recently spent a day with Boy and Girl Scouts in Baghdad.
If you would like to keep your things, you can...
It is the most heavily protected children's camp in the world. Here, behind the cement barriers and tanks of Baghdad's green zone, American troops are helping Iraqi Boy and Girl Scouts clear a campground. The usual rules apply.
If anyone gets hurt, stop what you're doing, get the attention of one of the leaders.
Along with some unusual ones.
So if you hear sirens going, woo, woo, incoming, incoming, then you need to get out of the pool.
There have been scouts in Iraq since 1921, but after Saddam Hussein turned scouting into a paramilitary training course, the international scouting body kicked Iraq out.
They lost an entire generation because scouting was pretty much halted through Saddam's regime.
Now, with the help of American troops, they are reviving scouting in Iraq.
For many of the 150,000 Boy and Girl Scouts outside of the Green Zone in Iraq, stray gunfire, car bombs, and mortars make it too dangerous for them to gather in public at all.
Many have nowhere left to meet. The Iraqi army has taken over their camps. Even inside the barricaded green zone, these scouts can only gather under armed guard. But that doesn't seem to bother these teens. Yasser, Zain, and Fahd told us scouting gives them a rare break.
Play football, play tennis, basketball.
Their parents usually don't let them play outside because of the war. Scouting also teaches children to ignore their differences. Who is Sunni? Who is Shiite? An uncommon thing these days in Iraq. Later this summer, scouts from all backgrounds will put that creed into action, spending 4 days at their new campsite. John Hendren, ABC News, Baghdad.
And just ahead tonight, many of us paid our respects to America on her birthday yesterday, but Iron County pays its respects to the people who have kept and still keep its historic courthouse running. The details on that when the UGN Late News returns.
Tonight, Jimmy.
Welcome back. Well, a local courthouse creates a public honor for everyone who has ever worked there. The new Iron County Courthouse Memorial Park had a dedication ceremony on the front lawn outside the courthouse this morning. That Memorial Park honors current and former employees who have worked at the courthouse going all the way back to 1890 when the construction first began there. The idea for the park started with a red maple tree in front of the courthouse in memory of former Iron County prosecutor Joe Sartorelli, who died in a car accident the day after Thanksgiving last year. The courthouse is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and was the first building in Iron County to receive that distinction. Well, Big and Little Bay de Noc are getting ready to host a major walleye fishing tournament next week. That's an event on the FLW Walleye Tour, the last qualifying stop before their end-of-season championship. And that tournament is scheduled to have a full field of 150 pros and 150 amateur co-anglers who will all be vying for a total purse of just over $500,000. Registration is going to be next Tuesday at the UP State Fairgrounds in Escanaba, and the fishing itself starts on Bays de Noc next Wednesday, continuing right through Saturday the 14th. And the anglers will be taking off from Escanaba Harbor at 7 a.m. all 4 days. Fox Sports Net is going to be on hand to cover that tournament for their show FLW Outdoors, and the episode devoted to that tournament is scheduled to air in early October. Well, there are attempts going on right now to fix what can be the most agonizing part of a trip to an emergency room. That's the wait. The average patient in an ER spends 4 hours waiting because most emergency rooms are overcrowded and understaffed. But as ABC's John McKenzie reports, some hospitals are fixing that problem.
It's bad enough to get sick or injured, but even the most stoic of patients can moan, stuck in an emergency room for 5 or 6 hours. Now some hospitals are doing something about it.
Delays are avoidable, and hospitals need to be able to step up and make the changes in how we staff and the changes in our processes.
In Kansas City, St. Joseph's Medical Center is now promoting its rapid ER service.
The 30-minute emergency room guarantee means you'll be seen within 30 minutes of your arrival.
To do this, the hospital hired more doctors and nurses and streamlined lab techniques. In Houston, patients arriving at San Jacinto Methodist Hospital often bypass the waiting room and go directly to an exam room, where triage is completed and treatment started more quickly. In New York, Montefiore Medical Center, the city's busiest emergency department, now has a fast-track program 24 hours a day for minor aches and pains, so that 30% of ER patients here no longer need to see a doctor. When Santos Vargas had a sore throat and fever, this nurse practitioner collected a throat culture, ordered the lab test, and wrote a prescription.
You're in and out in what? In and out in an hour and 5 minutes. Very impressive.
The hospital also opened around-the-clock radiology suites inside the ER for faster X-rays and CT scans. And it's installed new clinical information software. This computer program tracks the progress of each patient through the ER, minute by minute, and it's displayed on computer screens throughout the department.
We know exactly where they are. We can track how long they've been here, make sure they haven't been waiting too long for the results. Blood tests, labs, radiology, we know instantaneously if they're back.
Rose, Tanae?
Reducing ER wait times is not only good medicine, it turns out it's good business. At Montefiore, the number of money-making hospital admissions coming through the ER is up 26% in 3 years. John McKenzie, ABC News, New York.
And turning to sports, the Detroit Red Wings have just re-signed 2 of their key players, but one of the Detroit Pistons free agent targets has decided to play elsewhere. In Legion baseball action, Iron Mountain traveled to Ishpeming, and in Major League action, the Milwaukee Brewers finished their series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the Detroit Tigers crawled another game closer to the top of the American League Central Division by capturing their series with the Cleveland Indians. Evan Beach will have those highlights and more just ahead in UGN Sports.
I want to know.
As expected, the 3-game series between the top 2 teams in the AL Central Division has been a good one. The Cleveland Indians beat the Detroit Tigers 5-4 in the 11th inning on Tuesday, while the Tigers came away with a 6-4 win last night. Detroit was looking for a series-clinching win to move within 1 game of Cleveland in the Central Division. The all-star aces of both staffs, CC Sabathia for Cleveland and Justin Verlander for Detroit, squared off against each other with a chance to make their case to start the weekend classic in front of Tigers manager and AL skipper Jim Leyland. Top of the first, not a great start for Verlander as Victor Martinez takes him deep into right for the solo home run. It wasn't the greatest start for Sabathia either. Placido Polanco, not known as a home run hitter, but he smacks that over the fence and left for the solo bomb. Only his 3rd home run of the season. Bottom of the 3rd, 2-2 and 2 on for Carlos Guillen. He crushes that way deep into left center. A 3-run shot for Guillen for a 5-3 Tiger lead. Bottom of the 4th, Gary Sheffield lines one deep to left center. That's gone. A 2-run dinger, 7-2 Detroit. Bottom of the 6th, Tigers add some more runs. Maglio Ordonez lines one through left center. Polanco races around to score. Sean Casey tight ropes one down the right field line. Ordonez scores, and so does Pudge Rodriguez. And if that wasn't enough, Craig Monroe, trying to get out of his hitting slump, drops the loop RBI single to score Casey for a 12-3 Tiger lead in the 6th. Justin Verlander making a strong case to start the All-Star game. Pitched 7 innings, striking out 7. That's his last strikeout of the game to end the 7th. And in the 9th, newly acquired reliever Jose Capellan went 1-2-3 to end the game. The Tigers dominate today, winning 12-3 to take 2 of 3 in the series and move within 1 game of the Indians for the top spot in the AL Central Division. And from one great opponent to another, Detroit starts a home series with the American League leading Boston Red Sox tomorrow at 7:05. After winning the first of their 4-game series in Pittsburgh, the Milwaukee Brewers have now dropped 3 straight to the Pirates, losing today 6-3. Adam LaRoche homered twice and had 3 RBIs in the win. The Brewers open a series in Washington against the Nationals tomorrow at 7:05. While the Tigers and Brewers were on the Major League fields today, the Iron Mountain Golds traveled to Ishpeming to take on the Blue Storm for some Legion baseball tonight. It was a nice day for the two teams to be on the diamond. Mike Van Gassy is up to the plate. He hits a single to Derek Burke, who looks to get the double play, but the second baseman misses the play on the ball, allowing Jake Truitt to get to third. Truitt would later score. Cameron Reith up to bat, singles into the outfield, allowing Van Gassy to score. Ishpeming Blue Storm coming back with a single by Eli Wolf. We will have more on Wolf in just a moment. Next up at the plate is Derek Burke, who takes the pitch and sends it way deep out of the park for a 2-run home run, scoring Wolf. And after a few more runs, Wolf is back up to the plate. He doubles, scoring another run, and that's all the Blue Storm would need, as they would go on to mercy the Gold by a final score of 17-5. NHL free agency has not been kind to the Detroit Red Wings thus far. Although they did sign New Jersey defenseman Brian Rafalski, the Wings have lost Todd Bertuzzi, Robert Lang, and Kyle Calder all in the first week of free agency. However, today was a different story for the Wings. Forward Yuri Hudler agreed to return to Detroit, signing a 2-year deal. The 23-year-old Hudler, who provides much-needed depth up front, scored 15 goals last season with 25 points in 76 games with the Wings. Meanwhile, the team also signed goaltender Dominic Hasek to a 1-year contract. Hasek statistically was one of the best goalies in the league last season with a 38-11-6 record, a 2.05 goals against average with a .913 save percentage, and 8 shutouts. He was 10-8 in the playoffs with a 1.79 goals against average and a .923 save percentage with 2 shutouts. Terms of the contract were not immediately released, although it is expected Hasek will earn a base salary of over $2 million with bonuses. The relatively cheap price should allow the Wings to find more help through free agency. And the Detroit Pistons are still working on re-signing all-star free agent point guard Chauncey Billups, and although they seem to have the structure of a deal in place, terms have still not yet been reached. Meanwhile, the man they had hoped to sign to back up Tayshaun Prince at small forward has signed elsewhere. Former Piston and Orlando Magic forward Grant Hill has agreed to a 2-year contract with the Phoenix Suns. Hill agreed to take the Suns' biannual exception at $1.8 million this season and almost $2 million the next. With Hill off the market, the Pistons may turn their attention to former Michigan State star and current Toronto Raptor free agent Morris Peterson. And lastly tonight, the Detroit Tigers' attempt for a 6th All-Star failed today as Boston Red Sox pitcher Hideki Okajima beat out Tigers pitcher Jeremy Bonnerman and 3 others in the final fan vote for the 32nd spot on the All-Star team. Adding Okajima makes a leading 6 All-Stars for the American League leading Red Sox. And that wraps up the sports for tonight. We will be back after the break to wrap up the news.
The original home renovation hit that moved America into a home remodeling boom now helps you do your home up right.
You're talking about our greatest hits.
Get an understanding of how the whole process works. Catch This Old House Classics.
Finally tonight, new research may be about to blow up stereotypes of the strong, silent man and the natty woman the chatty woman who nags him. A University of Arizona study that came out today finds that men talk just as much as women on average, to the tune of about 16,000 words a day. Using digital voice recorders over an 8-year period, the researchers studied how many words hundreds of American and Mexican college students spoke over several days, having those voice recorders with them for every waking moment. The study found that women spoke just over 16,000 words a day on average, while men spoke just over 15,500. Although women do speak slightly more words than men, according to that survey, it's an insignificant difference, or so says the study's lead author. He writes that men and women are very different when it comes to their brain process. It's because there are many different hormones floating around in men and women, and that despite those differences, the amount that men and women communicate is the same. Well, that's all the time we have tonight for the UGN Late News. Thanks for joining us. Nightline is next with Jimmy Kimmel Live after that. From all of us here at UGN News, have a good night.
WBUP Ishpeming.